the global network of job placement in the case of overseas Filipino workers. So that's why I'm really interested in everything which is connected with Filipinos.
Yeah, why Filipino? Thank you.
I will only would like to add to what Ms. Joanna said. When La Strada is helping you, sometimes, this is my observation of course, sometimes since the beginning you don't know what will be the prosecution final decision, if they will see in the case the violation of the workers' rights only, or forced labor, or trafficking in human beings. So La Strada can of course help you to contact, to provide you with information, as long as you are considered as a potential victim of trafficking, but it's much harder if the prosecution decision at the end is different. And I remember such cases when I used to work with the Filipino truck drivers who were considered as victims of trafficking for a long time, but at the end they were considered as a victim of violation of the workers' rights, which doesn't help them with their legal state at all, right? Because only this is last February, 1 month in Manila. And also I was traveling around a bit, so I was interviewing the recruitment agencies there and also in Philippines, yes. So I was interviewing the recruitment agencies in Quezon City and in Manila. I was trying to sight a bit around, so I luckily went to Batangas for relaxed for 3 days. So I really enjoyed my stay, but I went there to understand a bit more what's going on. And also, as you can probably observe, since there are people here who are in Poland for almost 30 years, right? There are much more Filipinos now than before. Like, really, if you check the data about the issued work permits for Filipino workers or the data from the National Health Insurance Institution, there are more and more Filipinos every year. So I'm interested in everything, but I would like to tell you today just about half of my research. So I was trying to check what is mentioned in internet about the possibility of work in Poland. So before, last year, I was focused on YouTube and how I was checking how on YouTube channel you can be recruited also to work in Poland. But this year, together with my research assistant Francesca Rizarregala, we checked Facebook groups dedicated to Filipinos. And I was very surprised because I thought that there is around 10, 12 Facebook groups for Filipinos when I started this analysis. But when she came and we sit together, we found more than 40. Oh. So Filipinos are really considered as a target group for employers, for recruiters. It's they're very attractive. And sometimes there are the groups like Job for Filipinos in Poland, and people there are also posting direct other migrants, but they usually start with this Filipino in their name at least. So we decided on 6 groups, and we checked together 111 posts speaking about employment posted by official recruiters, unofficial recruiters, employers and migrants. And first of all, we are checking the visibility. So what you can already say, what you can see in this advertisement, what can probably mean for you. We also check what is not mentioned here, and maybe this is important and supposed to be mentioned there. So as you can see, the categories, we for example focus on support for stay legalization, conditions related to work possibility, type of employment, type of work, accommodation, transport, food, payment, the amount of working hours, and today we'll just show you some examples. And in 58 cases, so more than a half, the work proposed to job seeker was work in a factory or production, which also says something. For example, it said that mostly these people are working on mandate contract. Okay. So one of the first things we checked was if it's already mentioned in advertisement that the person is supposed to be already in Poland. And as you're probably aware, and as if we will follow the Filipino definition of third country recruitment or unlawful recruitment process, such a statement would be considered like this, because you're supposed to be direct hire, and direct hiring for Filipino side means, for Filipino authority, means you're supposed to be hired from the Philippines to Poland. But what is very often mentioned now, there are the things like, we are looking for people who are already in Poland now, or we accept applicants from Taiwan, Saudi, Hungary, anywhere in Europe. And this is also something which is coming from my interviews. Now it's more than 30. Only in 10 cases people came here directly from the Philippines. Most of the cases people are coming from Saudi, from Taiwan, from Hong Kong, and I'm absolutely not judging it. I also understand this perspective since I know how the processes look like. But this is something which Polish employer really try to use now, that they are recruiting TRC starts to proceed, and also it maybe means sometimes that they are stealing employers from each other, right? We'll pay you a bit more, come to us, but we want you to have already work permit. What I didn't mention here, and is also quite popular, is we also look for somebody who already has a bank account. But that is a very problematic issue now, because you are Philippines or this red.
I don't know.
There are different explanations. So the explanation I got from the bank, one of them, because I collect from many banks, I'm always checking, was that there's this red list of country where there is a risk of terrorism. That's why it's unstable, so they don't want to open. I also heard that in the past many Filipino opened a bank account and took some loans and then didn't pay them, so they don't want to open. But it's a punishment for newcomers, actually, right? It's
Yes.
punishment
You
for
are the
the
one who
people.
are the one suffering.
Yeah, and there's also problematic for employers because they want you to pay you, officially by transfer, and they can't because you can't open your bank account.
Right.
And yeah, I was also, I asked a friend to open and we didn't manage to do that, and we were in 3 different bank accounts, so banks. So that's quite problematic. It's not a violation, but it's not very clear what is the strategy of employment. If they will apply for a new permit for you, or they just use your own, which you will already come with, we don't know yet. And contract type. That was very interesting for me because, for example, I really often found information like we propose you official employment or legal employment. Times out of this 111 cases I was checking. So this is not the information which was quite often mentioned. And also, we already discussed it before, there is an idea from the Ministry of Family, Labor and Social Policy to change the law and to oblige employers to conduct for migrants or for migrant employees employment contracts since New Year. But we don't know how it will finish because employers are really protesting against that. They don't want to do that. And it's not really also only the issue of paying more tasks. It's sometimes the issue also of follow the labor code. Like if you have employment, you could be I don't know, punished so easy, you can be fired so easy, there are more things you can ask for, and that is quite scary for employers to change that. My perspective is that it's very good change, but we will see, of course. So there is also the thing, I think it's really important to know what kind of contract you have, because then you can check whatever is a violation or not. Whatever, for example, your contract is you're already performing the things which is supposed to be an employment contract, but you still have a monthly contract. That's the thing maybe should be clear more in such an advertisement. And legal assistance. So legal assistance, of course, it's not a duty of people. Like they can help you, but they don't have to. Like it's not obligatory. And we found some traces like our company provides all documents for TRC application or TRC will provide, but there is no information about the price. There is no information if you're supposed to pay for that or not. As far as I learned from my interlocutors, really often it's such like this, that you are asking for help and then they follow you to an attorney and you're supposed to pay through that attorney additional money for that. Even though from such a statement you can think that maybe it will be for free or it will be on employer side. Sometimes they also would like to reduce this from your salary at the end or every month. So this is also very blurred information. We don't know really how it looks like. And this legal support, even though it's important for Filipinos, so we can presume that it's supposed to be mentioned there if they want to recruit more workers, was also quite rare. Only 16 times this I don't know, kind of support appeared. But we can also have salary, and salary was you will earn between 5,000 to 6,000. But you don't know, for example, if it's gross or net. You don't know when you will earn this. Working 1 hour a week is still fine according to that contract. So that is quite tricky, and I think that should be checked more carefully. Also, Malaki salary offer above minimum wage. Malaki, as you already aware, right? Higher, bigger, higher salary above minimum wage. I also found some ads where there were different money, different payment for men and for women. And I understand it as far as it considered the tasks. So, for example, if you will a man, you will heavy more, I don't know, you will lift more heavy boxes, and if you're a woman within this donut factory, you will just put the gem inside. I got it, but it shouldn't be written like this, that if you're a man, you will earn a bit more than women, because it's not really understandable. And also, there are 2 cases, and the first one, for me, is very blurred, and it's considered everything what was mentioned before. So, for example, we have umowa zlecenia, right, so Monday, and there's an information that there will be some kind of bonuses up to 400 PLN or more per month, but we don't know how they calculate it. Also, we have this remember this precondition, right? When you have mandate contract, but you are working under the supervision of particular employer at a particular place at time, you can prove that it's actually, even it's not easy, you can prove that it's an employment contract. And actually here we have the examples that maybe it's supposed to be employment contract, but still it's mandate. But in the other example, when we have umowa o pracę, so employment, that was actually funny that really often the type of employment was mentioned in Polish.
Yeah.
Not in English, like umowa o pracę or umowa zlecenie. Not in English, and while everything else was in English. So there is umowa o pracę, and the salary is much more clear explained here, as you can see. So it's 21 PLN net, /hour, plus 20 night shift, plus 50 overtime, plus 100 working in holidays, and a bonus of up to 1,800. And that, it's more understandable, it's more clear, and also you know from where it comes. But also to know this, you need to know what kind of contract you have, right? So, of course, probably, if we are thinking about the advertisements, it's impossible that you will mention everything in one short advertisement. But as far as I know, some job seekers from the Philippines, there are things which are really attractive to them, and they are not really carefully checking after all, and that will be problematic at the end. So I think it's always better to check how they speak about things. And working hours were also quite often mentioned in that advertisement, but still, we have work between 8 to 12 hours, many overtime. Also, we don't know how many hours during the week we work, we don't know what does it mean many overtime, we don't know what is flexible hours, because actually also it could be everything. That's a permanent problem with the mandate contract actually, because in the mandate contract you can put what you want. We can retrace it, we can really jump, it's very difficult, only with this issue with salary, right? And also, the last ad, so work schedule Monday to Sunday, so it probably means that there's no free day, Monday to Sunday. At least 12 hours per day. When sorting, it was the cucumber factory. Please be aware that there may be a need to work up to 16 hours. And if it's employment contract, I hope I'm right when I check it carefully, it said that you shouldn't work more than 13 hours daily, and you're supposed to have at least 11 hours break within employment, right? That is important to remember. But it's impossible, actually, with that proposition, right? Working that maybe you're supposed to work up to 16 hours and at least 12 hours and from Monday to Sunday. And what was also quite blurred, but was usually mentioned, there were 2 information about the location and accommodation. So posting people, usually they are saying, for example, that something is near something. And this is important for Filipinos, for any migrant job seeker to know, for example, that he will not really work within Warsaw, but for example, 20 minutes from Warsaw by public transport. And that is clear and that is fine. But the worst is when there is at least 20 minutes by car, but around 40 with public transport. And I'm not really think that many of Filipinos or other migrant workers will have their own car quite often to go to your work. So for example, direct city, or for example, the place and the real destination, 40 kilometers from Lublin. And then it's of course on your side to check what is the public transport, is it far or not, because there are some distances in Poland which you can really quickly manage by car or by public transport, like in Warsaw. But for example, from my hometown to nearest biggest city is at least 1 hour by train, and there are 3 trains a day, for example. So it depends. And also accommodation. There is information like free accommodation quite often, and maybe it's free. I'm not saying it's free, but also I know the situation when the free accommodation is mentioned, and then you're supposed to pay for the bills.
Yes.
You encounter that, right? So gas, hot water, electricity. Even though first what you see is free accommodation, right? We provide good housing. Also, we don't know actually what does it mean. Accommodation party provided. I don't know what's means party, maybe only between Monday and Friday and then not. And accommodation with all amenities provided. And still, there are more clear way to say it. And with accommodation, I can tell you that since I'm observing that, it has changed a bit. Because before, it was mostly, we provide accommodation, or accommodation for free. But now, more and more often, they mention the price.
You need to pay.
Yeah. And also, it's interesting because the price is quite similar between 300